I think the biggest thing would be to, there's always that saying, you know, do your best, or the saying that never give up. But the bottom line is, take everything with, like there's a song, I don't remember all the words, Angrezi song hai, and it says, what is it, advice is a form of nostalgia. So jab maa baap kuch kehte hain, they are giving you advice, but they're really recalling their own past experiences. So don't just take it as, oh, you know, they told me this thing again. Just think about it from their perspective, because they have that advice because they've gone through something. So you have to take that whole picture in mind. And whenever you're going to college or you're going to school or whatever new thing you're trying to do, look for that advice, because it's free, first of all, and it's because they've gone through so much. And it means from teachers, from friends, and it's very easy to give up listening on advice, because you know you get stuck in your own way. Jo hum kar rahe hain, I already know what that is. So I think that was the biggest thing. My husband gives me advice all the time, and I try to also see where he's coming from. Kahan se wo advice aa raha hai? Ki maybe I can learn from that. Agar wo advice humko nahi acha laga, it's for a reason that he's giving that advice, you know.
There's a reason, yeah. So you have an option to choose.
Right, and that's a big thing. That's what keeps us progressing from generation to generation. Because today you're doing something, you want your kids to do better than you, and that's in our culture, na? Ki hum log ke bacche humse acha kare, and humse lambe ho, humse ye ho, humse wo ho, kya jo bhi hona chahiye, and that all comes from advice. So that's my biggest thought.
Okay. So, if you have to choose between these things, like your family, of course family will come first, but then mathematics, modeling, teaching, or a government job with cryptology, so what will you choose? What will be the first priority or something?
My passion was teaching. I felt very in my element jab hum class mein rehte the. But I think the drawback to that was I really missed industry work. Matlab, kya ho raha hai mathematics mein, like really hardcore theory stuff, and so I would have to choose math. I would have to choose, my focus would be career-wise mathematics. Modeling to fun ke liye tha, modeling ke liye to, and I like it still. You know, I think it still teaches you how to present yourself the best you can, and it's funny because hum log ke culture mein utna ye nahi hai, you know, or sab either you're studying or you're an artist or you're kuch aur kar rahe ho, you know, there's no combination, and today's generation needs that. Like college mein apply karte ho, they ask you what
extracurricular everything,
and you have to have all those combinations today. That's what makes it so complicated now. Yes.
So have you ever even dreamed of going to India and Bollywood and travel?
All the time.
You always dream that?
Of course.
Okay.
But I mean, not everyone has to be that high level, right? So I think it's because cinema, hum log ke culture mein, it's actually a very big player in teaching something.
It's part of our lives. I mean,
it is part of our
lives. We give examples from movies and we sing songs too.
Right, and it's part of our culture. Like all the I have lots of, Kishore Kumar is my favorite singer. So all of his songs I used to, when I had a hard time, listen to his songs all the time. And so, of course, I have this affinity towards Bollywood.
Okay. So, just before we wrap up this interview, and maybe we'll have you again on the show because there is so much to talk and we don't have time. Like any 5 tips maybe for all these different careers, if someone want to build their career in maybe a PhD or just a model, any 5 important lessons, any tips you want to share?
PhD is very, I see a lot of students ask this question, should I do my PhD? And that should never be a question. I think PhD only happens when you have found something that you really would like to research on. So, aise khali PhD karne ki koi farak nahi padta. You really need to know that, okay, I want to learn genetic algorithms, and that's something I would spend the next 5 years really understanding. Then I'll do my PhD. Of course, getting a grant is helpful, and there may be politics in there. So my grant was different than what my goal was. But for mathematics, it's all. I mean, a lot of students don't like math. Still, abhi bhi, hum log ke culture mein bhi, even when it's not accepted to be bad at mathematics, you may not like it. And I think it's very important to step back and just say, there's always some type of steps, you know, like a proof. You're proving something to yourself when you can do math. And so take it like that. And modeling mein, agar modeling karna hai, to write down a list of the things you'll never give up. because as time changes and as you get different influences, I remember so many girls going through anorexia, and हमको इतना गुस्सा आता था कि ये लोग मर रहे हैं खाना के लिए और ये लोग खाना नहीं खा रहे हैं, you know, and I remember thinking this, and I remember thinking that these 16, 17-year-old girls, I was the oldest one half the time and the shortest one, and they were these tall, beautiful girls that were giving up their eating, which is like a fuel. गाड़ी कैसे चलता है, you know, बिना gas के? You cannot not eat, and they would not eat for days.
Just because they look good. And
they didn't even look good. पतले पतले कहाँ में कुछ बदन भी नहीं है, कहाँ का पाटेगा? But it was important. So I think if you're going to model, especially in our culture, if you're a desi, make sure you have a list of things you'll never give up, no matter what. And that should be in your mind. It should be, if you have to write it down, and then make your step forward, because things will influence you. You will start changing, and you have to make sure that you always go back to your list. हम ये तो ये नहीं करेंगे. I won't do this, no matter what the cost is. And और क्या था?
Just being a good mother. Being a good mother,
I never make your dreams their dreams. I think the biggest thing is, my husband keeps saying this quote. Actually, he learned it from Shahida auntie. He said, "You have to give them wings and let them fly." Right? And he said it much better. I can't remember the words. But so you put everything you have, all the good things you have, both parents, grandparents, mommy, mama, sab log, into that child, and then what he does is his responsibility, and you can't dictate too much, because it cannot be beneficial. You give them the best thing, all the roots that you can possibly give them, culture-wise, tradition-wise, and jo wo log karte hain khali usko batao, you know, and then support. And I keep trying so hard. अभी भी हम देखते हैं वो ये करेगा इस लड़के के साथ, you know, I don't know what, you know, today's generation, when they grow up, all the problems are going to be different.
Right. And they'll have to face them themselves.
Yeah, they will have to face them themselves. So at home they have to have that's true structure. And the friendship. यहाँ के culture में the biggest thing is parents are friends with their children. And हम लोग में, I don't think we think like that. We may be like that. Mummy is my closest friend, but we don't. We're not taught like that. Right. But I think it's a huge thing. जितने बड़े होते हैं, when they're young, you discipline. But when they get older, you become their friend. And that's very important to keep in mind. Because friends, how many things you tell your friend that you won't tell your parents?
And you learn from your friends. You take advice from your friends, not from your parents sometimes.
Right. Yeah, that's also true. So.
All right. So on that thought, we'd like to thank Anu for being on the show. Thanks for being on APNA Show.
Thank you very much.
We look forward to have you here again.
Thank you very much. This is Anu, and you're watching APNA Show.
So if you think that you are an achiever, you are a performer, you are a dancer, singer, anyone, and you think that you can be on the show, just write us an email or visit us on www.apnashow.org. We'd always like to have you on our show. It's your show, APNA Show.